Right, I've got a bunch of replays from Firesrest and Seli. This first one is on Death Aura. Of course, Chayton hasn't bothered to rename the replays, so I have no idea what order they're in. But we'll have to assume this is the first game. So, Firesrest as the Protoss in the top left, and Seli as the Terran in the bottom right. Death Aura, I mean, you don't need me to tell you what Death Aura is like. We've seen pretty much every game has been on Death Aura. So, yeah, what are we going to have? It's a gas first from Firesrest, which, you know, straight away that's unusual. Yeah, single gas first is Protoss. I don't like it, I'll be honest. If I'm doing something gas heavy as Protoss, I'm still gateway first and then I'll double gas in due course. It's a pretty weird setup to be built. And why are there no workers in production? What's happening here, Firesrest? What is Firesrest doing? Has he, and now a worker starts up? I don't know. It doesn't look good, whatever it is. In the bottom right, Seli, meanwhile, look, has got a 3 worker advantage now. That's, 2, 3. That's, you can't go around just not building workers during the first minute of the game, because like this advantage is just going to be a rolling thing now. Your opponent is just always going to be earning slightly more than you, and that accumulates over the first couple of minutes of the game, and as long as they're spending that money, that transfers itself into a significant advantage at some point for sure. So, the early gas, I still don't understand. There's only 2 workers in it ever, so I don't know what we've achieved with this early gas. I'm inclined to say nothing. There's 120 gas in the bank. You've no way of spending it just yet. Yeah, and only now, well, in fact, still this nexus is not saturated in terms of minerals. So, these guys mining gas could have been mining minerals. You could have had this stuff up sooner. This could have been sooner. This could have been sooner. Everything could have been quicker here. In the Terran end of things, the Expo comes down, and it's quite a lot later than the Protoss Expo, actually. So the Reaper's going to get across the map, is going to see the build order up here. So not sure what the delay in this command center coming down was, if there was a delay. It didn't seem like an astonishingly early nexus in Protoss land. It seemed like a pretty normal nexus timing, common enough to drop the nexus after the gateway. In my kind of standard opening as a Protoss player is pylon, gateway, scout, and depending on what the scout sees, nexus or side core. So if the scout sees that my opponent is doing something aggressive, it's side core. If the scout sees that everything's normal in my opponent's base, then I go nexus, then side core. It doesn't make a huge difference, but it's a difference of maybe 20-30 seconds on when your first stalker gets out. So if your opponent's going to be aggressive, some sort of rush coming at you or whatever, you might really need a stalker or indeed a sentry if it's going to be holding a ramp against lings or something, a stalker if it's going to be marines coming at you or whatever, or reapers coming at you. Zealots just won't cut it. So it can make a difference, but I tend to like to have that based on some sort of scouting information. Make the decision once you've seen what your opponent's doing, and it doesn't have to be detailed scouting information. It's literally you've just dived in and you with a worker, and you're just checking, are there 3 barracks and no command center in production, stuff like that. Okay, this stalker can be fairly annoying, actually. Can easily see off the marine. Needs to be a bit careful with the Widow Mines. There's no blink or anything like this, so the Widow Mine shot would be a bad thing. So does need to back off, but could sneak forward and just annoy this worker, something shocking. Looks like he's going to come forward with an Adept as well, to put a bit of pressure on. The +1 attack upgrade is an interesting choice. I mean, by default against Terran you would get +1 armor, but +1 attack coming in for the Terran as well is so. You know, the way those Marines do rapid damage very quickly. Oh, this Adept, got to be careful. Does get in, gets a full scout. Now he wants to cancel. No, he's finished the shed. I don't know about that. You're probably going to lose the Adept. Actually, this Adept should not be killing workers. Come on, Seli, what are we doing here? Oh, finish the worker off. You're not going to... No, finish the worker. No. Yeah, you know, had the Adept go in and kill 2 workers, that's fantastic. I'll take 2 workers for an Adept. Happy days. Yeah, that was all a bit weird. Typically, if you're going to shed through with the Adept, a single Adept on its own isn't going to get much done. So you send in the shed and you cancel it. The shed's just getting in to have a look around. But yeah, if you've got 2 Adepts and they can one-shot workers, slightly different setup. If they've got the glaives upgrade, or if this was finished, they'd have one-shot the workers. And 2 Adepts then can... yeah, don't walk up there. 2 Adepts can be pretty annoying. As it was, the Adept, you know, actually putting some hurt on the worker, but yeah, I don't know. I'd have kept the Adept alive. I think I would have preferred the Adept to still be alive. You know, only killing 1 worker for an Adept. Anyway, the Reaper is parked out here and hasn't been back in any time recently, I don't think. So unaware of this, definitely unaware of the double robo here, but does get to see the timing on this expand. Looks like if this Reaper stands still, he's going to die pretty badly here. Yeah, shot in the face by an Immortal is pretty grim, isn't it? That is a chunky fella, the Immortal. Look at it, look at it. Look at it. Nobody wants to be shot by that thing. No. You know, given that Zealots are about 2.5 meters tall, aren't they? They're big fellas themselves. Imagine that thing coming at you, shooting you in the face. Huh? Bad times. Oh my gosh, I'm pretty zoomed in here. Let's see if I can undo that. The Observer, where did the Observer go? I'm sure I had it a second ago. The Observer is going to come in, have a little peek. Sees the third again. You know, the Protoss Firesrest quicker with the third, was quicker with the natural expand as well. So Seli wants to be careful here. If we look at the income tab, Seli does actually have a significant mineral advantage, and there aren't even any. Oh well, yeah. Just as I said, the mules get dropped, but there weren't any mules mining to contribute to that. And the reason is this: look, not saturated. So, look, no workers in production. So, you know, what's the point in getting these quick nexus up if you don't build the workers to go with them? No point. It doesn't achieve anything. It's not like you're a Zerg where you're building stuff out of the hatcheries. You know, this nexus is currently doing nothing for you. It hasn't built a single worker. There's nothing mining here. There's no workers in production at all. What was the point of this? It's just 400 dead minerals. So, you know, strange things are afoot at the Circle K. Similarly, given that there's a double robo, there's only 2 Immortals on the map, which at the 8-minute mark, you don't need 2 robos to build 2 Immortals by 8 minutes, do you? So I don't know. It's just all a bit choppy, isn't it? We've got now Void Ray coming out, 2 robos, 2 starports. I mean, these are weird choices. Let's see what this drop can get done. In the medevac, there is a siege tank. And a drop like this can do a lot. You know, if you get this siege tank tucked in here, so it's hitting this stuff, the Marines surrounding it, nobody wants to try and push into that. Your units have got to file past your own buildings through a choke into the splash damage from that siege tank. Could be very nasty indeed. Did he see it? Did he? Oh my goodness. Did he see it? So Firesrest with the hallucinated Phoenix coming across here. Does he see this? This is Firesrest vision. Does he see this? No, doesn't. Just misses it. So unaware that this is, because, you know, if you see this that could have been brutal, couldn't it? You know, some well-positioned stalkers underneath the medevacs as they come in, and it's. Oh gosh, and you're having a bad day. Although there is no blink, so the stalkers can't really dive under. These medevacs coming in now, I will be interested to see what they're going to get done. The Phoenix on the other side of the map was just having a look around, so decides to go in behind the mineral line here. It's a little bit more open to get to, but that's going to be just fine. May have to use some focus fire with the siege tank because you don't want it hitting this cannon, and it is still shooting the cannon, and that is a little bit unfortunate because, you know, all those siege tank shots were wasted on killing a cannon. It takes a siege tank, you know, the whole point of siege tanks is the splash damage they do. It's all about the splash, and as these units were filing through this choke, those siege tank shots could have made huge differences to that. So a little unfortunate really that he landed within range of that cannon, and the cannon did a great job then at just soaking up that fire. A little unfortunate there for Seli. I feel he didn't get as much done there as perhaps certainly not as much as you would have expected from a drop of that size. Definitely there was potential there to kill a lot, and it didn't really pan out for him on this occasion, but we live and learn. Okay, on the income tab, let's have a peek what's happening here. Firesrest has pulled ahead, finally presumably saturating these bases, and about time too, although I notice still no workers in production, still not saturated. What is this? Fleet beacon, you know, these robo facilities, this one is now building a warp prism, this one's still idle. You know, a double Stargate, only one of them's actually ever built anything, I suspect. It's just still, it's very confused, isn't it? It's confused. The forge is idle, the side core is idle, you know, with the fleet beacon suggesting that you're going to go into carriers, and storm being researched, so carriers with Templars underneath them is definitely, I think, what we're going to see. There's only 3 Templars on the map at present. Personally, if I'm going carriers, if I know that I'm against Marines, and there are a lot of Marines on the map, I'd like a few more than 3. Somewhere maybe 5 or 6 Templars, so that you've just, you know, got a healthy supply of storm to throw down is what I'd be looking for. So both of the expos coming down almost simultaneously there. Oh no, they're not. I lied, this one I've just missed, just I haven't noticed it. So again, Firesrest staying just a little bit ahead really in terms of getting those expands done. The scan sees all, though, it's a good scan, and sees that there's a carrier. You know, and that's an important scan. If you see a carrier, you know what you're up against. Nobody builds one carrier. People build lots of carriers. Carriers are only good in numbers. Firesrest still only producing off 1 starport. And why is that? Can he not afford it? You know, can he not afford to have both the starports running? You should be able to afford it. You've got 4 bases. I'll tell you why you can't afford it. You've not built enough workers, dude. Come on, get with this. What is this? 6 workers out of 12. You know what I mean? What? 20 out of what? What? You know, workers. Build the damn workers. These Phoenixes I love. I just, you know, it's just great. Constantly sending hallucinated Phoenixes across the map. Just keeping tabs on your opponent is invaluable. You know, knowing what your opponent's doing is such a big part of winning a StarCraft game. If you know what's coming and you can be in a position, in a good defensive position, you can generally beat it. So this Phoenix is going to come out and see it. Needs to move across here though. You know, the shield batteries are ready. You do not want to be funneling through here if the siege tanks were sieged up. So much damage could be coming down. The storms are brutal. Oh god. Oh, run, please run. No. Oh, finally the siege tanks siege up. Oh my goodness, is it ever too late? That was absolutely savage. Those storms. Yeah. So how could this have gone differently? Because it absolutely could have. Siege tanks in siege mode, already sieged in a handful of positions. A scan up top so that the siege tanks can open fire. You want to be able to have vision, and finally, sort of last but not least, run from the storms. You know, he does know that there's Templars on this map, but look at the difference it makes if these siege tanks are sieged up. Templars are so squishy that the siege tank fire on these clumped up Templars would literally have just one-shotted of them. All of those Templars would have been dead. As it was, the storms just coming down all over everything. You know, his own warp prism, I think, dying there to the storms. Absolute savagery. You know, brutal. It's not often you see Templars with kills. 12 kills on that one. That must have been one of the later storms. 5 kills. Absolutely brutal. So, can Seli recover from here? He is got half the army supply of his opponent at present. His production is good. He has got a reasonably defensive setup at home here. Needs to be a bit careful. So the siege tanks are in good positions. Needs to just pull these Marines back, let the siege tanks do their job, and he might be able to hold this. Is there still stuff in production? There is. More Marines coming down, more siege tanks ready to siege up. I think he holds this. I think he should be able to stand strong. So, you know, this is who wants to be fighting here? Absolutely no one. You know, it's a bad day when you're having to storm siege tanks. Has he got enough to just brute force this? You know, the carrier only has 2 interceptors. It's doing roughly nothing. This siege tank just raining down all sorts of death on everything from the background. So is this one. I think Seli just about holds. There are still Marines in production. All that remains now is these 2 Immortals. You know, so yeah, even, you know, pull the workers. Just get the workers attacking them. Even, you know, yeah, Immortals do that big heavy impact damage, and actually the workers will kill it pretty handily. So does hold. Am I on super slow? No, I don't think so. These Stalkers rallied to their death by the looks of things. I don't think they're supposed to be coming up here. So wants to get the siege tank into siege mode, needs to do a bit of repairing, etc. But, you know, everything here is fine. Could do with moving these Widow Mines forward, just into a better position. Could really do with knowing about this. Could really do with knowing about this observer. Look how hard to spot that is. Really tricky. If you spin around, you can kind of see it there, but that is not easy to see. Over on the right hand side, the Stalkers aren't going to achieve anything against this command center. That's the planetary. So things stabilize a little bit. Firesrest a little behind in army supply. Yeah, I don't know what to say really. You know, it's been pretty brutal. Look at that, pretty savage. If we look at the units lost tab, it isn't massively skewed. Seli has lost a bit more, but it isn't terribly skewed one way or the other. More carriers are in production, and the mothership is coming out as well. So, sorry, just topping up on coffee. So Seli needs to know that that's what's happening here, because look, there's no further ground units being made, although there are ground weapons being upgraded. But you know, the air stuff is only 1-1, and look, these Marines are going to be 3-3. So Seli needs to recognize that there is no further point in. Oh, needs to repair. Needs to pull them and do some repairing. Please do some repairing. Please do some repairing. He needs to recognize that it's just air, because siege tanks aren't going to be of any use to him anymore once the Golden Armada arrives. He's pushing out into the map, you know, and this could be well timed, because if you turn up on the other side of the map just as 3-3 finishes, 3-3 Stim Marines kill everything. Again, I'm loving the position of these observers. You know, giving Firesrest just excellent knowledge of what's coming across the map. As I was saying previously, if you know it's coming, you can probably beat it. No, this time, will he get the siege tanks are at the front, but at least they are sieged up, and this is a good thing. Needs to drop the scan, needs to be able to see this stuff. Can't at present, and as a result, is taking far from stuff on the ground that he doesn't need to be. So the siege tanks are going to wail away at this stuff, yeah, I think there's just too much in the air and not enough shooting up. The carriers only have 1 interceptor left each. There's a handful of Marines that are over here doing weird things. Yeah, so these 2 carriers are all but dead. It's the Tempests that are sort of going ham. There's only this small handful of Marines left, and they are in fact going to fall to, well, it looked like it was actually the cannons. Again, a pretty, a bit of a slugfest with both players losing heavily. Everything on the ground wiped out for Firesrest. So Seli resets. He is on 81 army supply. Let's have a look at what the composition is. It's 22 Marines, 9 tanks, 1 Viking. So needs to essentially stop building tanks and just transition into things that shoot up. It does look like there's these 2 factories are upgrading. So perhaps he's going to transition into Thors and has done. Needs to pull to repair this. This will last forever if you repair it. There isn't enough shooting it really. It wouldn't take much for repair. But Seli, you've got the bigger army. You can't just walk across and kill this. I'm not sure what the hesitation is. Not feeling confident at present for whatever reason. But there's only 3 carriers here, and really you need to make sure you keep these numbers low. Needs to know about these DTs as well, because they will be super obnoxious. Nothing more annoying than when you watch a replay and you realize that you took a fight in which there were DTs you didn't know about. So Firesrest snipes that bit, and that does mean that this is the only mining base that Seli's got really. So that is going to be a seriously dented income. He has got a reasonable amount of mineral bank, but nothing too ridiculous, so he definitely does need to re-expand. These Vikings way out on their own. This is a bad idea. They're just going to go down. Hard to run from the carriers, and that's a real shame, because you need these Vikings. You need these Vikings in the back, focusing on the carriers with that exceptional range that they have. Meanwhile, your Thors, your Marines can be picking off interceptors and such. So if Firesrest pushes in here, he dies. He doesn't have enough to push this. The Widow Mines will do a great job on the ground of cleaning up the interceptors. These Thors that are coming down are going to be perfect. The number of Marines on the ground is high as well. There's 50 Marines here that are 3-3. Needs to lower these depots because they're going to do you more harm than good. But yeah, Firesrest needs to get out of here. This Terran army will flatten what he's got at present. So Robo Bay coming down, and I don't know why. I'd love to see Seli hit the stim button here and just run forward and snipe these 3 carriers, because he absolutely can do that. That's well within his grasp here. Just hit the stim button, right click those Marines, get them under a carrier, stop them, and that is a dead carrier. But he's going to come across to the left here. He's going to see this base, and this base will be denied. The army supply heavily in favor of Seli. The upgrades tab, let's have a look at it. We've got 3-3 for the Marines. It is, oh yeah, nice. Yeah, look how quickly these Marines just see off all of the interceptors. These carriers are now literally just paperweights. They're flying dead weight. They are doing nothing. They're adding nothing to this fight. So the Marines come up the ramp. Seli needs to know about the DTs. The DT in the middle here absolutely going ham with nothing able to see it. Just hacking away at stuff. There's just about enough healing to minimize the actual death that he's dealing out, but the extra damage that this DT is doing is literally phenomenal. So in amongst these shield batteries, always so hard to fight. Yeah, 11 kills. It's worth remembering that at least one of those kills is a Thor, so that DT is just making huge differences there. It's really hard to take a fight near shield batteries. Really difficult. What an absolute slugfest this game is. Both players absolutely mauling the other one. Yeah, and it looks like he needs to up this and fly it away. He's going to come across here and defend, and actually this isn't a particularly big Protoss army, so he probably can take this. This Thor, though, I don't know what it was doing. What it wasn't doing was shooting stuff, and this DT still just running about absolutely uncontested, up to 40 kills. So the CC is going to go down. I don't know. I don't know who's going to win. This is chaos. So has he figured out that there's Dark Templars in the mix yet? I don't know. He's going to expand down here, and this is arguably the easier defended position. So this is probably a good thing. There's a siege tank at the front here, just willing away on this stuff as it goes past. He might get an accidental kill on the DT. He probably saw it there. These Tempests coming forward like this, surely they're going to die. Come on. Don't let them away with that. Yeah, the Vikings, come on. Oh no, man, he's going to come around. He's going to find this. Did this start building and get cancelled, or was the SCV just waiting? Doesn't actually have enough money at present. So, you know, could always fly across one of this CC if he needs to, but at present he needs to fight this stuff, so needs to get these siege tanks moved over, needs to know where it is, drop the scans, and get this stuff dead. Really could do with knowing about this. You know, this observer MVP. I mean, Firesrest just knows exactly when that army moves across the counter. Firesrest income, I don't think is fantastic, but is substantially better than Seli's. He has got this mine-in base, and this one he is starting to get up and mine in. So he's going to have a significant advantage before very long. It would be really nice to get the snipe on this mothership. So yeah, well worth the chase there, well worth the chase. If this stuff moves across, yeah, engage that as well. The zealots cannot touch you from the other side of the rocks. So, the storms can, no, oh, unpleasant. But does manage to just remove all of the air for Firesrest. So only this one Tempest remaining. Worthwhile, not sure, not when your income is so starved. So these, you know, only has 2 command centers. This one with a fair amount of energy, so he can drop mules here, and that's going to help a lot. But he does need to think about repositioning his army and possibly a bit of a change in composition. You know, these widow mines all the way back here, get them positioned down here so that you're ready for whatever comes. Bring these siege tanks forward, maybe get a repair off on some of these siege tanks as well. This one definitely could come forward, and this one could come forward. So could do with repositioning just in general. Composition wise, you know, this is no longer an air army, which is interesting. So the siege tanks can do very well here, but I'd love to see these widow mines in different positions. This time he can lift up the CC and should be able to get it away, but it hasn't moved yet, so you can't help but feel he's going to lose it, and in fact doesn't feel that he can do anything about this and does tap out. To be fair, there was a significant army advantage for Firesrest by the end there. Well, that was an awesome game. GG.